So today on Arena, I'm playing some Historic Brawl and I'm using my Light-Paws deck. Light-Paws is a sweet 2/2 for 2. This is whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control. If you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura, with a different name to each aura you control, and put that card onto the battlefield, attach it to Light-Paws, and then shuffle. We're definitely an aggro style deck, aiming to create a large Voltron style creature to get in as much damage as we possibly can. Light-Paws specifically says that tutored auras must be attached to Light-Paws, so most of our auras do just that. What auras do we look for? Well, depending on the board state, we may need some lifelink or some evasion, but early on I typically look for flying and card draw and maybe vigilance. Then as the turns progress, some evasion, and finally as much power as we possibly can. I'm not going to go through every aura as most of them do the same, but yeah, there's a variety here giving +1/+1, vigilance, lifelink. We'll see as the games go on about those. Interesting one sort of sits on their own is All That Glitters. I don't really want to be looking for this early on. I don't want to expose this to any removal. This is definitely going to be a way for us to get through the last points of damage. And the only other one I really like is, where is it? It's the Glaring Aegis here. If we search this one, we get to tap down a target creature an opponent controls. So if they're sitting there with a big blocker in the way or a flying creature, this is a great thing to look for to get that out of the way so we can get attacking. Some enchantments here, or some auras here that we can attach to our opponent. Curse of Silence should be in most white Historic Brawl decks, as we get to name a card name, and spells with the chosen name enchanted player cast cost 2 more to cast, so we typically always name the commander. And the punishment and the Nahiri's Binding, this is great to attach to opponent's commanders to not remove them so they can just replay them again, but to shut them off and stop them using activated abilities and such forth. We are going to be complementing our creatures here with some protection spells. So we've got a variety here, a few creatures like the Alseid and the Savior. We don't really want to be spending all our mana every turn, leaving Light-Paws pretty vulnerable, because once it dies, our enchantments that we've looked for will mostly go to the graveyard. Some can be played back out the graveyard, like the where are we? Sentinel's Eyes here, but most of the time we'll be losing them. We can bring them back with one of our other creatures over here, the Paragon. Sarah Paragon, our 3/4 angel, which allows us to, once per turn, bring a permanent from our graveyard with mana value 3 or less to the battlefield. But that's going to be asking a lot if we're going to be using that as the only way to bring back our enchantments. So we've got some other creatures in case Light-Paws isn't working. Probably our best one is the Core Spirit Dancer. Gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Whenever we cast an aura, we may draw a card. That's the same as Saram here. Whenever you cast an aura, we may draw a card. So these are great for some card advantage. The Mystic here reduces the cost of our enchantment spells. So does the Envoy here. Blessed Spirits puts a +1 counter on this creature when we cast an enchantment spell. The Pilgrim lets us tutor for an aura in case we need something to save us. Maybe look for a Nahiri's Binding. The Sun's Grace here says that whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying, and all Pegasus creatures we control have lifelink. So this is great to build up a large board state. We've got Halvar here, which says that all enchanted creatures have double strike. And finally Danitha, which says when it enters the battlefield, you may put an aura or equipment card from your hand onto the graveyard and attach that to Danitha. So a nice little card here in the 5-drop slot. We don't really want to be spending any more mana than 5 for our creatures and spells really though, because if we get to that point, then maybe we might find it hard to get through and win the game. Other creatures, got just some pretty decent ones here. The Sentinel here, to hopefully draw some cards. Eidolon taxes our opponent's planeswalkers. The Virtuoso, when it becomes a target of a spell, we get to connive, so this is a great thing to put enchantments on. It also has double strike. The Evangel here, we can keep conjuring the same card into our hands every time we play one to the battlefield. discard them at the end of turn, but we do get to tap down opponent's creatures, so this could be a way to get through that last bit of damage. Peacekeeper from Dominaria here, 3/3 that when it enters the battlefield, you look at the opponent's hand, choose any card name, and spells our opponent's cast with a chosen name cost 2 more to cast. We don't have to name something from their hand, we can name their commander, so nice little addition there to this deck. Danitha Capuchin Paragon reduces the cost of auras. Catilda's power and toughness are equal to the number of spirits and or enchantments we have. And with spirits, we're also playing, where is it? Hallowed Haunting, so which is an enchantment that says whenever we cast an enchantment spell, we get to create a spirit which power and toughness are equal to the number of spirits you control. So a little bit of synergy there, but that's quite expensive if we ever get to that point. We're playing Lae'zel, double striker for 2/4, a 2/4 double striker for 4. When it becomes the target of a spell, we get to exile it and put it back onto the battlefield. We can also specialize for 1, and when that happens, we get to seek a non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less to our hand. The Paragon, yeah, let's just play from the graveyard. And Defiler of Faith here allows us to reduce the cost of our white spells by 1 white mana for the cost of 2 life. And a lot of our spells are pretty cheap, so if we ever get to that point, I'm looking forward to playing some cheap spells. Other cards we've got in the deck, Shadowspear here to give trample and lifelink. Michigo, help massively boost our power of our creatures, as it gets target creature gets +1/+1 to end a turn for each enchantment we control. We got the Blackblade here, Gideon Blackblade to give a target creature we control vigilance, lifelink, or indestructible. The Haunting, Wandering Emperor to hopefully exile any opponent threats, and the Sigil of Empty Throne, so whenever you cast an enchantment spell, get to create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Removal and interaction wise, got Mana Tithe, Swords, Adamant Will for some protection, Valorous Stance, Skycave Apparition, and March there. We're playing 35 lands, including Faceless Haven. We've got Emeria's Call for some angels as well, and we're playing the snow-covered basics for the Faceless Haven here. Yeah, that's our Light-Paws deck. It's super fun to play. The games are relatively quick, and we don't get into long, drawn-out matches, which is always nice, I think, in Historic Brawl. If you want to see more videos, I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me a lot. So I've got a few games now to showcase the deck. So yeah, sit back and I'll talk to you again soon. Alright, up against Raffine it seems. This hand, not that great. This hand's better. We have a creature we can at least play on turn 2. Obviously we can play our commander, but opponent is on Raffine. Alright, so I want to try and get a lot of damage through as soon as possible before the counter spells and removal comes down. So turn 1, no plays for us there. Generally happens. Opponent with Ominous Seed. Okay, second mana for us, and we'll play the Eidolon here. No point playing Light-Paws into the opponent's mana. I don't think it will see another turn. Could do with a nice 1-cost protection spell. So we get to play another Plains here. So Eidolon is taxing opponent's Planeswalkers, so probably not too great in this instance. Helods here can search for an aura. Just deciding exactly which card to play. I mean, I think it's best we just play Light-Paws in this instance. We can attack. I doubt the opponent's going to want to block with their Thief of Sanity here. So fingers crossed Light-Paws survives. Okay, and Raffine comes down on curve. So that's not a big problem for us there. They get to connive as they attack with their Thief. But we're in a decent position here. We've got some auras in our hand, Light-Paws on the battlefield. So I'm feeling pretty confident here that we can see this out pretty fast. Thief of Sanity allows them to exile the top 3 cards of our library, and they can cast one of them for as long as it remains exiled. And Sentinel's Eyes is nice. So only 3 mana here to work with, but it should be enough for us to get a decent Light-Paws attack this turn. The Sentinel's Mark here has Flash, so it's probably not what we want to be playing right now. That was more of a combat trick there. The boon is +1/+1 and Flying. Flying definitely something I would like to get onto our creature. At least we can block the Sanity or Raffine if we can find something maybe that gives it Vigilance. So we're looking for a 1 or 2 drop aura that we can put on one of our creatures here. So I went with all that glitters, as we're trying to maximize as much damage we can do this turn. We still get 1 mana to play Sentinel's Eyes and search for another aura. So already an 8/8 vigilant flying creature here. So opponent, if they want to block, they're going to lose their Raffine. And yeah, just any old enchantment's fine here. So attack for 10. Like I said, it has vigilance, so opponent probably is not going to block here. This attack is probably coming out of nowhere here to the opponent. I don't know if they can afford to take 10 damage straight away. And they certainly need to deal with Light-Paws after this attack. Otherwise, next turn's going to be crazy with the Machigo and more enchantments. But surely the opponent's got something that they can do with the board here. No, they scoop it up instead. Too much damage. And that's the power of Light-Paws. On to the next one. Alright, against Golos with a hand which is okay. It's not that great. There's no real good creatures apart from Light-Paws, as we draw a Glaring Aegis, which is a nice aura there. +1/+3, and as it attack, you get to tap down an opponent's creature as you put it on the battlefield. Oh, Mana Tithe. Alright, so we can play an Eidolon here. Golos costs 5, so we'll just wait until they have 4 mana and oh, a Seeker. Alright, so next turn they can play Golos, so we can just, as long as we keep our Mana Tithe open here, we should be good, because surely they'll be looking to play a turn 3 Golos, play out Light-Paws, and no point attacking. Let's see if they play into, and there he goes, Golos, Mana Tithe. I don't think anybody likes to see a Mana Tithe, especially when they get to cast their Golos on turn 3, and no, they scoop it up. Fantastic. That's exactly the reason this card's in this deck. I love to see it. Alright, next game here against Sheoldred. So this could be a tough game against some black removal maybe. We get to keep this. We have a Savior in our hand. It's one of our best 1-drops. We can sack it to give our creature, to give a target creature indestructible till end of turn. Opponent with 2 swamps. Again, they're going to feed the swarm on our dog. That's okay, I think, although they may have wanted to hold that for maybe an enchantment or something, but we get to play Virtuoso here. No point playing Light-Paws into open black mana. As opponent misses a land drop, we miss a land drop, it seems here. So unfortunately, our enchantments are going to be pretty lame attaching onto the Virtuoso, although we do get to connive. This has flash. So does this. Get to connive and make a decent size Virtuoso here. So we drew a land, which is nice. And we need to just make sure that we put away a non-land here, and we can hit the opponent for 6. Yeah, and they are land for the turn. And we're in a decent position here. Don't think there's any need to put anything else onto the board here, as an opponent obviously is a mono black deck with probably access to plenty of removal. They do find their 3rd mana of the game, And Farika's Libation makes us sacrifice our creature. So I think if we'd played Light-Paws there, I may have sacrificed Light-Paws itself and kept the Virtuoso on the battlefield. Alright, so we this turn have 4 mana. Not much gas in our hand here, so I think I'll just play Light-Paws. You've got to expect if the opponent draws a land, they're going to want to get Sheoldred down, so kind of want them to draw land. Leave my Light-Paws alone. And Grim Tutor. Alright, so opponent is searching for something. They're going to lose 3 life here. I wonder what they're going to look for, because it's quite early in the game. Whether it's some kind of combo. Okay, so they finally search for their card and play Radiant Fountain for the turn, gain a couple of life. And yeah, we get our 5th land drop. So let's see what we can do. Rune of Sustenance on Light-Paws here. And get to tutor up an aura. So we've now got lifelink on our creature. We want to try and hit as much damage as possible now, as we're sort of in the middle game here. All that glitters is something I found to put onto Light-Paws. So we want to keep adding as much as we can. And Knight's Pledge, +2/+2. So Light-Paws already has 7/7 with lifelink now. And we're going to look for maximum damage, I think. There's so many different options. Unless there's something specific you need to do on the battlefield, I always like to draw cards. There we go. So we've got an 8/8 flying creature here, and we still get to play Glaring Aegis, which makes it a 10/12 now. And no double strike. That'll be something we'll be hoping to draw next turn with our Halvar, but we get to pop down a Cartouche here, +1/+1, but we do create a creature, which is what I think my thinking was here. At least if they kill Light-Paws, we have a way to hit them hard with the token. They're already down to 5. Sheoldred wouldn't help here, as our creature has flying. And it's just a solemn for our opponent, so yeah, I think we've won this one. Maybe slightly lucky the opponent missed the land drop. They didn't play Sheoldred, but we do get to attack them down for lethal here. This is one of those situations where we could have put down pretty much any enchantment on our creature and it would have done the trick, but we got there. This game up against Jetmir, so maybe a token style deck, as we are on the draw with a not so great hand, Mulligan. And yeah, turn 1 Selfless Savior is always nice to see. Opponent with a Mountain or a Den of the Bugbear. And yeah, they're more than likely going to be able to deal with any creature we put down now. However, the Savior will save it, so we can certainly play Light-Paws on turn 2 and feeling safe here. Opponent with their 3rd mana. Checking what Light-Paws does, and it's a Tireless Provisioner. Okay. So a blocker here, but we have ways of dealing with that. It's nice that we've hit all of our land drops. So Conviction here makes our Light-Paws a 3/5, and we get to search for a aura. And this is one of those situations where I want to give my creature flying, draw a card. So only attacking for a 3/5 with a 3/5 here, but that's not a problem. So if opponent hits a land, they're probably going to want to get Jetmir down. But they don't, it's just a Knight of Autumn. Alright, so that will enable them to destroy one of our enchantments. That's fine. Probably take the flying enchantment here. Yeah, but we have ways of coming back into the game as they attack with a 3/2, so not afraid to attack us. And Catilda, okay. Well, I think the Pilgrim here will allow us to find an aura, because we are lacking an aura at the moment. And so we can either find a 1-drop aura to play this turn, or something that allows us to wait for next turn. Looking to see if I've got anything that can give my creature flying at this moment, and here's the Glaring Aegis. So that will give +1/+3 and tap down our target creature and opponent controls. So we'll be able to get down quite a bit of damage this turn, tapping down the Night of Autumn. So we can hit them for 5. In fact, the Glaring Aegis is going to trigger on Light-Paws itself, so we get to play another one. And Solid Foot in here enables us to attack using its toughness instead of its power. So that's 10 damage. I do like the Glaring Aegis. It's such a good card to find at this particular juncture. Okay, opponent down to 15. Looks like they are hamstrung on mana here. And yeah, just attack us with their 3/2. So our Pilgrim has kind of done what it needed to do in this game. We're not going to worry too much if we lose it, but I don't block with it at this point. An opponent with Halo Fountain. Alright, so proper token deck going on here, but should be able to do something this turn. So unfortunately nothing to give protection from green, which is what I was hoping for, and opponent scoops it up anyway. I don't think they were completely out of that game. Our hand looked pretty bad there. But moving on to the next one against Giada here. Okay, and this hand is nice. We'd like a 3rd land drop, and then we should be in business. So I'm expecting an Angel deck, I guess, as opponent has Legions land in. Up against mono white, I feel safe putting down my Giada. Sorry, my Light-Paws. If they draw a land, they might be playing their Giada, so they decide to play the Tome instead, so looking for some cards. As we draw a Plains. Nice to hit our land drops. Alright, and let's see what we can do. Sentinel's Mark here, +1/+2 in Vigilance. Creature's also going to get lifelink as we're casting this in our main phase. And we'll be looking for some way to give our creature some evasion here. So flying, or the Aegis to tap down the opponent's creature. So Angelic Gift, I always like to find this one. That draws us a card. Although it doesn't boost our power now, the card advantage is great. Opponent with Faithbound Judge. Okay, so pretty decent blocker here in our way. But we can get around that. As we draw Valor of the Worthy, +1/+1, leaves behind a Spirit. Alright, so 4 mana this turn, so we can do a bit of stuff. So first thing, make our Light-Paws +1/+1 and lifelink. Create a Vampire with lifelink as well, look for a card, and I already know what I'm looking for. There's no point finding the Aegis now because it's a 1 cost and we can use the Valor of the Worthy in our hand to find that. So we are looking for some way to boost our creature as much as possible. And All That Glitters is a decent card for that particular moment. So we've got an 8/9 already. Now we can play Valor of the Worthy to make it a 10/11. I'm definitely looking for the Aegis now, the Glaring Aegis. If I can find it. There it is. So that's a 12/15, and we get to tap down the Judge and attack, and this had lifelink. So we're up to 40 life already, opponent down to 10. I don't really think there's much they can do about this now. Even if they were to keep blocking with this Judge, we're going to be gaining so much life each turn. Opponent scries. Maybe should have done that in their upkeep. And Giada. Another creature for us to have to get through, and a Selfless Savior. Alright, so opponent having a good fight here as we find Fighters one, so some kind of protection, which was my worry playing this game, that we We're going to have a problem if our creature was targeted, but Spectral Seed, +2/+2. So our creature is more than big enough now to win this game. And opponent scoops it out. Another victory there for Light-Paws. On to the next one. All right, last game here, Tatyova. So a land deck we're up against. We get to play our Dunes here, and this time a Shadowspear turn 1. Our opponent is going to gain a life and find a island. And yeah, we just get to play Light-Paws up against a Simic deck. I feel safe that the worst that we can go into is a Fading Hope maybe, or some kind of bounce spell. So Light-Paws is fine to play here. Opponent with green and a blue mana. So our hand is pretty good. Opponent is ramping, so we definitely want to make sure that we hit our land drops. We do find Ameria's Call, which is an expensive land drop. But we get to play SRAM there, then play the Valor, draw a card through SRAM. And then Light-Paws is now a 3/3. And we are going to look for Sentinel's Eyes here, just so that we can escape this from the graveyard if our creature is bounced or removed. So opponent down to 22. SRAM's a great card to have on the battlefield here, as we're going to be drawing so many cards now. Opponent with a Wayward Sawtooth, so pretty sure that's just a 5/5. Yeah, lets them draw an additional, play an additional land each turn, and if you have the City's Blessing, it can attack. So if we play an aura here, at least we get to draw off SRAM. We can attach our Shadowspear. We can look for an aura with our Pilgrim, or we can play obviously our Apparition. So we can pretty much do anything, but I think in this instance you want to play your Radiant Grace, draw a card whilst this creature is still on the battlefield, whilst SRAM's still on the battlefield. So yeah, so our creature now has +1/+0 and Vigilance. Gets to draw a card. And Dub is a fantastic card to draw at this stage. One of our only 3-cost auras, so going for the Cartouche here to create another 1/1, or to create a 1/1 and Dub, so it gets +2/+2, and we get to draw off the SRAM again. So Light-Paws is now an 8/7, and we get to search for another card. And there's only ever one card to get in this instance, this late in the game, and that is All That Glitters. So we've got our 15/14 creature, they can't block, and we get to attack for 17 damage here, put our opponent down to 5. Nice. So I'm expecting some kind of interaction with our board here. Solve the equation. All right, so they get to search for an instant or sorcery. They have 2 mana left, so pretty sure it's going to be something that can deal with our Light-Paws. All right, so it's a Fading Hope. But we do have other creatures on the battlefield that can win us the game here. That's why the Cartouche was so great. Okay, so Light-Paws back to our hand. Our enchantments into the graveyard. Valor of the Worthy leaves behind a token. So we've still got 4 power on the battlefield. Opponent with 2 mana here. And a Druid class. And we should be good, as we have a multitude of ways of boosting the power of our creatures. And yeah, Fighters 1 does that and puts our SRAM up to 3 power. So tap for 5. And that's another victory, this time against Tatyova.